Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back to DiscussionVerse, your go-to spot for deep dives into the latest and greatest in the world of comic books, TV shows, and movies. Today, I'm going to be kicking things off with a fresh look at the brand new Creature Commandos show, which is also marking the beginning of the new DC universe. Now, before we get into that, I do want to make sure to thank you guys for all the support that you continue to give. The goal here is to get 500 subscribers and also be a monetized channel, but the support that's already been given, I can't thank you enough. Keep it up, smash that like button, and hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Now, Creature Commandos is a bold new animated series and the brainchild of James Gunn, and it is absolutely essential to the future of the DCU. This show not only introduces us to a bizarre and fun team of misfit characters, but it's also paving the way for James Gunn's new DCU and paving the way for the world building that they're doing. So, let's dive into the first two episodes and see what they're all about. Now, episode 1 does kick off with a huge bang, as the story is set in 2023 and does run parallel to events seen in the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. The story picks up with the nation of Pokolistan under attack by the evil sorceress Cersei and her deadly followers, the Sons of Themyscira. And if you're wondering what that means, don't worry, we'll get into the specifics in a bit. So, in this episode, we get our first look at Amanda Waller. Yes, the same Waller we know from the Suicide Squad, and she's back to her old tricks, and also voiced by Viola Davis, of course. Now, with the government shutting down Task Force X, Waller has no choice but to rely on the Creature Commandos, as they're not technically human and they're monsters. So this brings us to the Belle Reve Penitentiary, and we get introduced to Task Force M, or Creature Commandos as we know them. Along with Viola Davis returning to voice Amanda Waller, we also get Steve Agee coming back to voice John Economos, who was a part of Waller's team in the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Along with this established continuity, I also love the fact that they address Weasel falling out of the chopper with the events of the Suicide Squad, because they reference that in Creature Commandos and say that he's uneasy because of recent events and his last experience. I think that using that in conjunction with the world building that they're doing by establishing Cersei as a supervillain known to the world, and also basically letting it be known that this world understands that there are superpowered beings, those moments in the first two episodes for Creature Commandos really help establish the world building for the new DC universe and how it would be going forward, which I did talk about in that Superman video, because I think that is the point of this universe, to see how Superman would stand out in a world of superpowered beings. It's also fun to note that Cersei was actually caught by the Metropolis police station, and her mugshot was shown on the news clippings that they were showing when Rick Flag Sr. and Amanda Waller are talking about the new task force that he is going to lead. And that is just a little taste of what we get in the first opening minutes of the first episode of Creature Commandos. From there, we're introduced to Task Force M, or Creature Commandos, which consists of some pretty unique personalities. You got the Bride, Dr. Phosphorus, G.I. Robot, Weasel, and Nina Mazursky. These characters aren't your typical superheroes. They're a bunch of non-human outlaws who are forced by Waller to be a part of this new task force being led by Rick Flag Sr. And that name might sound familiar, yes, because that is the father of Rick Flag, who we saw meet the ultimate demise in the events of the Suicide Squad by the hands of Peacemaker. With General Rick Flag Sr., he is a central figure in this new era of DC. His leadership and dynamic with the team are going to be key here, especially with the initial tension between him and characters like Dr. Phosphorus. You can feel the distrust already building up, especially when Phosphorus tries to steal the remote that Waller gave Flag to use in order to subdue and handle the Creature Commandos. But early on, Rick Flag Sr. really makes it apparent that he is more interested in leading the team and having the team dynamic, rather than wanting to use that to abuse them such as Waller did. And I think that really establishes the dynamic between the team going forward. With episode 2, we get a deep dive into the past of the Bride. We get an origin story, which is actually a tragic one. Flashing back to 1831, we learn about her creator, Dr. Victor Frankenstein, and how he made her from female cadavers. But not everything goes according to plan, because it's a classic Frankenstein tale with a twisted twist. The Bride, despite being created by Victor to be with Eric Frankenstein, the monster, ends up rejecting him and goes on the run, with Eric chasing her across the centuries. The show makes it clear that there's a lot of unresolved history between these two, and it's only going to get more intense. As we find this out, we actually do see the Bride trying to sneak out and go back to Victor Frankenstein's castle to retrieve a certain item that she believes will help them to defeat Cersei. And when the Bride sneaks out, fellow teammate Nina Mazursky ends up hearing her and goes out to follow her to make sure she's okay, and also to see what she's up to. After Nina reveals that she's onto the Bride reveals that they're looking for an important piece of the puzzle, which is the tourmaline necklace that could help them defeat Cersei. But as you can imagine, things don't go too smoothly. We also get further flashbacks into to the tragedy that happened with Victor Frankenstein, the Bride, and Eric Frankenstein. Because he was created in order to love Eric Frankenstein, but didn't and ended up loving Victor Frankenstein, her creator, that ended up being something witnessed by Eric Frankenstein, causing him to kill his creator, Victor Frankenstein, and the Bride to go on the run as he chases her across time, since they cannot die and are technically immortal. After we are all caught up with the Bride's backstory, we see the events start to play out where Cersei realizes what their search is and what they are doing. So she goes to attack Nina and the Bride, and let me tell you, this is where the stakes really rise. We get a full-on battle between Cersei and the Bride herself. Despite a solid fight, Cersei just proves way too powerful and ultimately defeats her, and it is pretty brutal, to be honest with you. But it really adds to the new world that they're creating with the DCU and establishing what is going on in terms of the power scale seen with different levels of villains. Along with the Bride being captured now, Nina also faces the consequences too and is captured by the Sons of Themyscira, with both of those members of Team Creature Commandos or Task Force M. Now, Rick Flag Sr. and the rest of them have to be in a desperate race to save them. The action is fast, brutal, and it's full of surprises in seeing what both characters can do in terms of their power skill. And that is where episode 2 leaves us off on, and we have to wait to see with episode 3 what is going to happen. Though, that's not really the big picture. The big picture is the introduction of these characters and the introduction of the already established world and the deep lore behind them that really sets up how the DCU is going to be shaped going forward. With Task Force M, we're looking at the team that's as dangerous as they are unpredictable, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the story unfolds and does establish more towards the world building. A big thing too is that James Gunn recently did talk about how he's not focused on trying to interweave all the storytelling. What's more important is establishing the world itself and how these characters interact in that playground, so to speak. Combine that with the fact that Creature Commandos is the first official show that launches the DCU means that everything happening here does matter. We're not just watching another animated series, we're seeing the foundation for the next chapter in DC's cinematic universe in a much less forced way, in a more organic way, I would say. And I think it's really helping pay off based on the first 2 episodes and all the things that we're hearing and also seeing behind the scenes with Superman, Lantern, along with the rest of the slate for DC's Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. And yes, we do have monsters with the Creature Commandos. Alright guys, that pretty much wraps up everything here. What do you guys think so far? Are you digging the Creature Commandos? Let me know your thoughts on the first 2 episodes in the comments below and what you think of the future of the DCU going forward. And let me know if you spotted any cool Easter eggs. There was definitely Shaggy from Scooby-Doo seen during the flashbacks for the Bride's origin story. So let me know if you saw anything that was pretty interesting. I'd love to hear that, and I'd also love to hear about what you guys think for the trajectory of the new DCU. And last but not least guys, please smash that like button and please hit that subscribe. I am on the road to 500 subscribers and monetization. Though with the support that's already seen, I know that this is going to be something easily done. So thank you guys once again for everything that you're helping with, and until next time, peace!